Well, hello there, tribe. Happy Saturday morning, bright and early. Yes, we had a late night last night of planning for Paleo Effect. Happy campers. Let me tell you, the whole team over at the house putting the final touches on this show. We are ready to rock and roll. You're going to have a fantastic time at Paleo Effect. Let me ask you a question. What do you know about your mitochondrial health? Is it good? Is it bad? Do you know? And how would you know if it was good or bad? And what would you do about it if it was bad? I have here today Mr. Suresh Rajamanickam, who is a co-founder and medical director of Mitochondrial Rescue. Suresh, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Keith. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Suresh has got the rocking and rolling shirt on today. I'm always in black. When he came on the screen, I was like, Suresh, tell us a little bit about Mitochondrial Rescue. And by the way, thank you guys very much for sponsoring Paleo Effect and making the trek out to Austin to be at the show.
Well, we're glad to be there. We're really excited, and we know that you're working very hard. Mitochondrial Rescue is an international organization that trains practitioners to learn how to use this highly specific heart rate variability device that has its basis in Russian space medicine technology. In fact, it's the same device that's in the International Space Station as well as in many Russian ICUs. So you would learn how to use that, but specifically, you'll learn how to measure people's energy levels or mitochondrial power, how it's being distributed, what your personal power grid is like. And once we get that information, which is only a 5-minute, non-invasive, no big deal test, we can figure out what your dosage would be of 4 different supplements that we offer, of which the Rockstar Smart Peptide would be carnosine extra. That has a direct link to Russian space medicine provenance as well, because that particular smart peptide was designed in conjunction with this highly specific HRV test to help the cosmonauts do as well as they possibly could do under extended spaceflight duration. Okay, so what that means is when a cosmonaut goes to Mars and back, theoretically, they can potentially age 20 to 25 years from the cosmic radiation that's damaging their mitochondria. So they discovered this peptide in this test to prevent that from happening. And now we are launching it in the United States after it was used really in a very selective and almost secret way in Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union for a very long time.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
How does the carnosine extra differ from other like regular carnosine?
So about 30 years ago, as part of this Roscosmos Mars 500 program, they needed to decide what exactly are they going to select to help the cosmonauts. And when they decided that it was carnosine, a very simple 2-amino acid dipeptide, they couldn't get it into the cells. So all of the research was basically all trying to get it intracellular, and they did. So the cosmonauts didn't need to take 3,000 pills a day and go up with an extra rocket full of pills. Right? All they needed to do was take it twice a day. And that was the technology that the research really was all about. It was to prevent it breakdown and to increase absorption. So our carnosine extra is much different because it stays in the cells intracellularly for up to 12 hours. And we've proven it with research.
Now, this is interesting because in my background in strength and conditioning, variability is used to measure recovery.
Yes.
But we really don't know what to do about it other than just recover better.
Right. So we're living in an age of biometric trackers now, and I think we're just scratching the surface. I think they're going to become more non-invasive, more portable, and we're going to get the equivalent of what big data was. But with health information, I think it's going to be a huge stream of it very, very soon. And in the short period of time, about a year that I've been using this machine, people have certain patterns. They have certain energy patterns. Certain groups of people have certain energy patterns. It's been truly fascinating, to tell you the truth.
Right. It is an interesting study because one person who is at their best will have maybe a similar HRV reading than someone who is way below their normal.
Right. So the HRV is interesting because you can have a readiness score. So our particular test will tell you how your cells handle stress at that exact moment that you're having that test. But also, the way I'd like you to think about it, Keith, is that it's really measuring your autonomic nervous system as it bubbles through your heart rate. And depending on how rich the data analysis is, we have a very rich data analyzer. We can get information that you normally would not be able to get. So, and that would be more of a chronic, that's the way you are as an organism, and this is how ready you are. When you talk a lot about what you're talking about, the athletic part of it, it is recovery, adaptability, readiness. Are you overtrained? That's true. But these kinds of tests are good for everybody. Right. That's the whole thing.
Right. So it's I love to get, we don't have to go into it right now. But if you want to stop by the booth, I'm quite sure that the history of HRV is very, very interesting. Suresh, can you tell me your tagline with Mitochondrial Rescue is results that you can measure? Can you explain that?
Right. So we have a practitioner network that we are building, and we have an online training course with lab practicals to teach people how to use these devices. And were you to visit a practitioner and get one of these 5-minute HRV tests and get an energy blueprint, if you will, we can dose you. It takes about 3 months for your autonomic nervous system to reset. We typically have patients feel better within 2 to 3 weeks. I personally felt better right away, and I slept a lot. But we check you every 2 months. Okay. And then we can look at the first reading, ask you how you're feeling, what's changed, and look at the second reading and say, oh, your power level went up. Oh, look at this. Your stress index went down. Oh, your hypothalamus isn't so fried anymore. It's really starting to find the power that it's looking for. And of course, really, it's about that total power as well. Most people are sympathetic dominant, parasympathetic depleted, so we can look at that balance as well. It's pretty amazing. I think we're going to be able to tie in a lot of these other biometric trackers that are out there already as well. But for our particular program, our HRV is linked specifically to this supplement program because of our algorithms, because of our provenance with the Russian space medicine program. We're doing it exactly the same way they're doing it.
And we know that what gets measured gets managed.
Yes, exactly. Yes. It's much easier to make diet, exercise, and nutrition changes when you're looking at the data every day, multiple times a day. That's not the way this program works, but in general.
Right. Now you ordered Ian, right?
Yes.
What was your path from surgeon to
Well, I'm a medical device geek. I have helped, interestingly enough, design a lot of the instruments that I currently use in my operating room. And I also have been surrounded by a lot of different energies in my career that we use for both diagnosis and for treatment. We use electromagnetic waves for computer image guidance in the operating room. We use plasma energy. We use cryotherapy. We use catheter balloon therapies like they do for the heart. And also in ear, nose, and throat, we can measure your hearing at the level of the brainstem without even, asking you to repeat what we said. We can measure your infrared movement of your eyeballs, figure out what your balance system is. I mean, heck, nowadays you can even do an EEG with electrodes not even touching your body, right? So I think the couple of that, plus, of course, there's always a personal journey in there. I've had my own personal journey. But I would say I've always been a very busy clinician, very busy surgeon. And what I've noticed is that a lot more younger people with maybe in their 40s and 50s are having autoimmune disorders, chronic inflammation, chronic fatigue, really. And they all ended up being chronic sinus patients. Being in Florida, a lot of them had mold exposure. So I started getting involved in, understanding what chronic inflammatory response syndrome is. But eventually I ended up studying integrative medicine because I wasn't finding the answers on the surgical side or the allopathic side. And really, it wasn't until I started collecting a lot of these bioenergy devices under the name of my other business called Mitodynamics that I really started to get involved with the bioenergy side of it. That I was kind of led there intuitively after learning about as much as I could over a pretty significant amount of time about integrative functional medicine, bioidentical hormone therapy, all the other things, detoxing, and really, it's all of that smeared together that kind of is coupled with being introduced to this machine by my founder, Lilias Amhera, about a year ago. For me, having the right perspective at the right time, I would say is really what brought me to this particular type of therapy. And I have to say, after everywhere that I've been and everything that I've seen, it's so far upstream. Okay. And I can just say one thing, I can just say one statement. All chronic disease comes from low power. Okay. That's it. Okay. And we can measure that power, raise your power levels up. Okay. We can, get rid of all that cellular junk that's accumulating everywhere. Right? We can actually give you the energy that you need so that you can actually reset all those resistant receptors that have really gone bad. And we can re-amp up your protective services that probably have gone, not the way it's supposed to go. So you became autoimmune or you became subject to a lot of infections. And all of those things are the result of having low power. Okay. And I really believe where we're heading is really a complete new paradigm of health. And we're really looking forward to helping everybody. Yes, athletes, biohackers, but you know what? Those chronic fatigue people, when I was going through what I was going through for a very long period of time, I wish that I had what I have now to offer people. And now I do. So for those people too, those people who really didn't think there wasn't any answers out there for them, I don't know what to do, And actually, I would say recently, Keith, I'm seeing a lot of patients in their 20s. Okay, that are coming in on blood pressure medications. Okay, wow. Are you kidding me? You're 29 and you're on a beta blocker. Okay, and there's a lot of invisible energies out there that we need to sort of talk about as well. And I think that this treatment program would help modern age living as well. To tell you the truth, you don't have to be a cosmonaut.
Right.
It's not the cosmic radiation; it's all the other stuff we have down here.
So the attendees, will they be able to have a on them at the booth?
Well, we're going to have a very large, multiple, at the same time testing platform there. We're going to be giving a classroom lecture on Sunday at 1 p.m. We're going to have some special VIP guests there as well that we're going to keep quiet for now. And we're going to be testing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Just anyone who's listening, it would be better if you don't have any caffeine or no food 2 hours beforehand, then you can get tested right away. If not, we got to try to get as close as possible. We'll text you when you're ready. You come over, you get tested, you leave. It takes 10 minutes tops. That's it.
That sounds great. I know. I am going to check that out because I am fascinated. Seriously, I am seriously fascinated by this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And is HRV the only external measurement that you used? Or is it a combination of HRV, heart rate, blood oxygen saturation?
Nope, it's purely a non-invasive electrical measurement. A lot of the things like this Aura ring, that's optical. So it's not as data rich. So it has to be electrical. It's 5 minutes. It's none of the other things that you might find with some of the more physiologic laboratory kind. It's in the category of what we call software as a medical device, is really what it's in. Yeah.
Well, this is fascinating. And Misty says my feet are irritating. Suresh, we will wrap this up. I cannot wait to see the effects and see the Mitochondrial Rescue team at Paleo.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you for everything you do as well.
All right. Signing out, crew. Have a fantastic Saturday. Suresh, can you bring an extra one of shirt for me?
I'll see if I can get one for you. You love it. You mentioned it. I'm going to see if I can find one.
All right, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your Saturday.